Hey everybody, welcome to Example of Play. My name's Joe. This video is going to be the first in a series of Let's Learn videos for Shadow Empire. I like to call these Let's Learn because I'm still learning myself as I go. I know the basics enough to get started, and then as we go, we're going to dive into different chunks of the game, different aspects of it, and I'm going to be kind of learning behind the scenes as I go and then teaching it to you. This game is one that's got a pretty steep learning curve, but it's worth it because it's such a fascinating multi-layered complex strategy game. It's like a 4X game, it's a war game, it's a logistics simulator, it's a little bit of Dwarf Fortress, a little bit of Crusader Kings. There's just a lot going on with this game that makes it a really cool, really interesting indie game that's just like one guy making this thing, and it's awesome. There's also a DLC coming out for the game soon-ishly at some point that'll add a really complex, in-depth political system to the game. There's already a bit of politics in the game, but it's going to make it where there's different government types and moving between those different types of government among some other things too. So I'm looking forward to seeing that DLC. I'm hoping we can work our way through learning the basic game, become proficient at it, and then whenever that DLC comes out, I'll definitely come back and update the series to add on how to deal with those different political layers. But anyway, for today, in this video, we're going to see how to start a new game. We're not going to go super in depth on the process. We're going to just kind of go with the defaults, but we'll poke around a bit. Then we'll get in the game. We will briefly go over the UI. There's just so much to get into it that I don't want to dive into every single thing. It's really a challenge of how to start with this game because there's so much stuff that you kind of need to know a little bit about everything to start. But we'll do our best to just hit the high items that you need to know without getting bogged down. And so we'll play through the first couple turns and just demonstrate how to move some units around, maybe get into combat depending on what we run into, and how to start some construction and kind of get your economy started off and do a little exploration. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's go ahead and start new game, and we'll get going with the game creation. There's several steps to it, but we're not going to get super bogged down in it. We're just going to kind of go over each one. First is your planetary class, so what kind of planet you want to play on. This will change up the challenge a bit, like kind of what kind of resources are available, what your priorities are, whether there's a chance for alien life forms on the planet. You can play on like a moon with no atmosphere where everything's very dangerous. If you have the Oceania DLC, I have that. You don't need it for sure to get started with the game. It gives you some more options, but it's not necessary to enjoy the game. It adds just a few things. But one of the things it adds is more water-based planets. So kind of the initial core games, usually with the desert planets, a lot is what you see, or the planets with some water. These, and you can play these like full-on water worlds. But we'll leave that for maybe a later video. Cover that DLC. For the basics, it's kind of up to you what you want to pick. There's not really a wrong answer. Some might be more difficult than others, like starting on a lava planet, probably gonna be harder than other ones, or like a moon with no atmosphere. I usually pick between the desert, the Limos, or the Siwa class. Those are kind of the default kind of starter choices. Do note if you go with like this Medusa planet, which has a lot of liquid water, it always has a hostile alien biology, which means you might get attacked by giant alien bugs or something. So just be aware of that. We'll go with the Siwa class for this video. It's a little mixture, a little bit like Earth, but with less water. So, and it could have alien life on it. So we'll go with that. Next is History class. So you can kind of, if you look in the manual, the game actually has some really deep lore. So the quick version is basically humanity hit like peak technology, and then this thing, the shadow of Shadow Empire, destabilized things, and we had like the crash of human civilization. And now the game here starts with we're kind of rising from the ashes, rebuilding civilization on one of the many planets of humanity. If you choose these options, it can kind of push things in different ways. Some of them make it easier, some make it harder. You can kind of read what each one does, but we'll just leave all those off for now. And then here's some more settings for generating the world. So you can actually, we'll just do the drop me in now, so there's no extra settings, but you can do some more planet generation. You can do detailed planet generation, kind of shape what you want that to look like. Kind of like Dwarf Fortress, where it generates this whole world and history and everything before you ever get there. Well, we do want to leave Fog of War on. I think that's better, just for gameplay for me. You can play this multiplayer by like play by email with other people if you want. You can start with multiple, like a kind of a more established empire with multiple zones and a bigger army, but we will just leave it on the default, which is basically starting with just a little town and a militia. And then there's some story stuff. We'll leave that on because that makes it more spicy, more things could happen. Tech level, development speed, on fast, we'll put it on normal. And then organizational level, yeah, we'll just leave that. Enter. Yeah, so I think that's more or less the default choices. So, and I'm gonna leave the Oceania DLC stuff turned off for now. Now we hit continue, and we'll get into the actual game. It's generating kind of the world, the vegetation, all that stuff in the background before we get started. And then here we can pick what our regime looks like. So it gives you a name. You can make it something else, but we're Permaland's Land, which is just a silly name. Kind of sometimes you get very Dwarf Fortress-esque names. And then our title for the leader is Lord, but it's not capitalized. I don't like that. We'll be king. Yeah, sure. Now, like, whenever that new DLC comes out, there'll be different types of government, so that you could have like a monarchy or a democracy or different things. But it's a little bit just up to your flavor of what you throw on it here for the most part. And then you can change the colors, like what you want your symbol, your flag there to look like. That's okay. And then I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time here, but it is fun to play around with it a little bit. Make it your own. For Permaland's Land. So we see here at the beginning of every round, you'll get a little report, let you know if there's any combat in between, and then you usually have some decisions, and you'll always have a 50-something reports. That's just new information updating every turn, so don't worry about that too much. The decisions you will want to address every turn. Now, every game starts with the previous ruler dying and you becoming the new ruler, and where we are rising to power. And then there's always some kind of zeitgeist. So this is the time of relative calm. So we'll get extra political points every turn, so that's nice. Gives us some more options. And then these usually take place over a lot of turns, so it'll start off light, and then it'll increase over time, and then it'll go away, and then some other zeitgeist will start. So usually it's something good. Gives you a little bonus in some area, but it maybe could be something bad too. But most of the time it's something good, kind of helps you a little bit. And then we can see here, yeah, 24 turns in the time of relative calm, so it's going to be that for a long time. At the beginning, you always get some fate stratagems. So stratagems are basically like cards that you get dealt kind of semi-randomly. You can do things to shape what kind of cards you're going to get in a lot of different ways, but also some of it's just random. You'll probably get some different ones, but you'll always get some here to start. And then the fate cards are usually kind of the bigger, more unique actions that can happen. So these can give us like some new technologies, money, but they cost fate points is the cost there. It doesn't seem like a lot, but the fate points are kind of hard to get because usually, at least early on, the only way you get more fate points is playing these like cards that are usually bad or chaotic. So like we play this that the bad rations, food went bad. That won't be good, but it gives us 2 fate points that we could then turn around and spend on these good fate cards. Then you'll get some organization or factions will generate some stratagems. These are the regular stratagem cards, so they're usually less unique and exciting like the fate cards, and they're going to be things like sending a spy, opening communications with another regime, things like that, all kinds of stuff. There's so many different ones that could come up. And like I said, we'll see as we go ways to generate more cards of different types. But some of them you'll just kind of randomly get. Now, when we get here, we're presented with our first decision right off the bat. So you'll always have this one, your ascension speech, what you want to talk about at the beginning. And usually it's going to shape your regime a little bit. It's a little bit random which category you get. And you'll have more chances over time to shape these things, so don't worry about too much. But you get different bonuses for the different things. So whether you want to be hard and merciless, strong but caring, calculating, logical, or all a little bit of each, you pick. The other thing to learn here is that these are our characters. So these are like AI generated portraits and characters. They're just totally random every time. But you'll start with some characters. This is the like Crusader Kings part of the game, that if we click on one of these guys, you can see each one of them has like a ton of different stats. They have kind of like RPG stats, how charismatic, strong, intelligent they are. They have their personality, what kind of personality they have. They have lots of different skills that apply to lots of different things. And then they have like a history, what they've done. Um, and then they have how much they like you. So the bar on their portrait is an important one. It's their relationship to you, basically like how much they like you. But there's also a loyalty number, which is separate from that, or they're tied together, but they're two distinct numbers. And then they have like seniority, so that can come into play when you're picking like who to promote to a important position or something. So there's like all kinds of stats going on here, and you can only imagine if we get that politics DLC, that'll be even more important. But just to see all that stuff there. And then as we can see here, we make these choices, and it might affect those relations with these characters. That's going to affect our regime as a whole, giving us some pushing it in one way or another, but different characters will like or dislike things. Like this guy, he really dislikes that. Minus 17 to relations if we choose it. Where these guys, these will go up a little bit if we choose these. We'll go with, and then the text is just kind of flavor. We'll go with strong but caring and boost this guy up a little bit. Not that I care about him that much, but that's what'll happen.
Yes, sir.
You see, yeah, you choose an action, you see like what the results were, and then we'll see later where those points go. And then you'll also want to start a new organization. So there's a bunch of councils that you can build over time. So there's 9 different councils that you can create. Eventually, you can have all of them, but there are ones you want to pick at the beginning versus not pick at the beginning. So like Air Force Research Council, we don't need to pick that right now. We don't need to be building an Air Force here at the beginning. The first one to pick kind of depends. I read some different guides. Again, I'm not the expert, so this game I'm not going to be making optimal choices necessarily, just kind of good starter choices, just the basics. But I read different guides, different schools of thought. There's no one right answer. If you see that you're in a situation where you're going to be in combat really soon, you might need to build like the Model Design Council, Military Research Councils, get those early so that you can get better units, military units. If you're surrounded by a bunch of minor powers that you want to try to ally with, you might go with the Foreign Affairs Council early. That's going to get you more of those stratagem cards, but the diplomatic type. So more opportunities to build relationships, to build trade, stuff like that with the regimes around you. But a good starter choice is the Economic Council, kind of an all-rounder, because it's going to let you do several things like research new technologies, prospect for resources, and get more economic stratagem cards. And so it's kind of a good all-around choice if you're not sure, but all of them have different functions. I wish it would tell you like on this screen what they do, but if you look in the manual, it has a detailed explanation of what each one does if you're not sure. And as we go through this, we'll get several of them. It just takes time. You can't get them all at once. They kind of just gradually get added one at a time. The other thing to see here is it costs 4 PP, so that's 4 political points, which we see is up here. We have 19 political points, and we'll generate those over time. Every turn you'll get a few, and you'll spend those for all kinds of stuff. So just be aware of like how much you have, and then different action. Early on, don't have to worry about too much, but as you go, you might need to decide one thing or another depending on how many political points it costs. But we'll go with Economic Council, and then that'll get established on the next turn. That'll come back up. Now you might have another choice, you might not. Let's see. So Dubusika, I don't know, demands regular relations. So this is going to be a minor regime that's next to us. They're wanting to. We have unclear relations, which will start kind of vague, unclear relations with all the regimes around you, or you could start with nothing around you, just kind of the Wild West, just marauders and random people. So it's asking, do we want to accept the borders where they are right now or not? And then again, this is kind of a practical choice. It's going to change our relations with this other empire or this other regime. It's going to push our nation one way or the other in what its kind of attitude is. And some characters could like or not like it. So like again, this guy, he goes +1 if we pick that, -8 if we don't. Not that that's the deciding factor, but again, very multi-layered decisions here because he's our director of the Supreme Council, so he's like kind of like the top of our government or near it. So, and we do want him to be on good terms because that relations, one of the things it does is they'll do a better job the higher their relation score is. So we can click here. This is the decision tab. If we don't want to decide that right away, we click that to get rid of it. Get some little intro messages here. Danger's at 21 points, so that means there are some hostile things right nearby. So your start it's very random what you kind of start with. So you can see here it's pretty busy around us. We've got some little towns, some kind of resource there. Got a hostile unit here that's really close to us. You might start where there's nothing around you, it's just empty. Usually there's going to be some kind of random unaligned unit nearby, but it could be your start could be very different, so just be aware of that. I'm going to kind of play it as it lies here and we'll see what happens, but you'll need to just adjust depending on what you have. All right, so now comes the challenging part, which is, all right, we're here, what are we going to do? We have a lot of options of things that we could do here at the beginning. We have to decide based on our situation. I'm going to just I'm not going to explain everything all at once because I feel like it's too long and boring to try to like explain what all the stuff on the screen is right away. So I'm just going to explain those things as they come up. I have just the objectives for the rest of this video are to show you just the basic controls, probably some basic combat depending on what's out here, and how to build basic economy stuff. So how to kind of get a couple buildings going to start your economy off. So the first thing though, just to look around the map and see what we got. The UI is pretty complex. I could do a whole video just about the UI, probably explaining everything, but the key things to see over here, you got your resources, and eventually you'll have different zones, but for right now, we won't worry about that. We just have the one zone. So you come over here, you've got your resources. You can hover over them to see what they are, see how much is coming in. Sometimes it's hard to tell where stuff's coming from exactly, but we'll see that as we go. And then you can see how it's being spent, though, is listed out here. If you go through here, this tab is the kind of shape of your nation as far as some of those decisions we made between like might and heart. So there's politics, society, psychology, and those are going to be shaped depending on those choices you make. And then if you hover over them, you can see depending on what your level is, and then there's different perks and things that you get as you go, things that could happen based on that. So it kind of shapes what kind of country you have and then what things will follow from there. And then up here is some of our key resources. So those fate points that we talked about, the political points, and then credits, your money is up there. There's some tabs here. We won't worry about those right now. We don't need them just yet. Preferences, one important thing. This is how you quit the game. It took me a while to find that the first time I played. You have to open this there. You can save and quit. It's kind of hiding. There's statistics, which is exactly what it sounds like. Order of battle. This shows us how our military is organized. Right now, it's pretty straightforward. We have our HQ of our zone, our strategic HQ. We have militia forces to start with. So militia is its own category. And then the ones from Granite Top, which is our capital city. And then the actual forces that are arranged under it. So you can see how as you go, this will get more complex, of course. The strategic map, which shows us what's going on around us that we can see and who's out there. So we can see there are 2 minor regimes. So we can see that down here that there are minor regimes out there. And you could start with none. You could start with just non-aligned random people out there too. Stratagem, so those cards we get, this is where they live. We'll revisit this when we get to it. We want to spend one of these. Well, in this video, we might spend one before it's over just to show you how to do it, but we'll come back to that. Decisions. So again, if you haven't made all your choices yet, you can come back here. Reports. Yeah, tons of information there. And then you can open a mini map if you want to. You can also zoom out quite a bit. And then over here is how you do a lot of stuff. We'll just do that as we get to it. Down here is what you want to display based on these. There's these different tabs. We'll explore these as we go. But kind of the important ones for you at the beginning is here, the unit, so we can see what unit we have selected, what's in it, and what else is in that hex. And then this assets one is going to show you the things in that zone. So this is helpful to know like what you have available, some of where your resources are coming from. we'll talk more in depth in a minute about getting a building going, kind of early economy stuff. We can see this is where a lot of our we get kind of a trickle of resources at the beginning from our current private industry, our people that live in our city to start with. And then we have a little bit of free folk out there that could join our empire from this neighboring town. And like we could go and take these other little towns too, and there would be more people that could join us. And then we also get some power from this old ancient reactor that's still running. That's in like 6413. So it's in there. It could be outside of there too. Everything in the zone will show up here. It's a little confusing because this is not showing you what's in like that hex. It's showing you what's in that zone of our empire. So a little confusing there, but you'll figure it out as we go. And then if we look here on the map, we see, of course, our units there. If we left click, we can cycle through the units. That's our headquarters. It doesn't move. That's just where it lives. And we can see who the commander is right there. We can call him up to tell him stuff too. And then we can select the units, and you can see the hexes light up to show how far they can move. The red arrows show that they could attack that unit out there. We'll come to that in a minute. And then we can see here just kind of visually, if we select a hex over here, it gives us information about that hex, like the terrain, what's there, at least as far as what we know. And then like that's a little town. The water symbol there is important. So you'll pretty much, I think you always start with, you can see a metal deposit and a water deposit. Every time I've played, you have those to start with. You can find more resource deposits later. We'll talk about that video. But usually you have those to start with, which are important kind of basic resources. Okay, so that's quite enough talking, looking at the UI. Let's get some action going. So really, your game, it depends on how you start, but for mine, we're starting with this kind of pending decision. Do we want to normalize relations and borders with Du Bois-Sika, or do we not want to and risk conflict? If we look on the map, we can click here and see, if we have the regime tab selected, that this is Du Bois-Sika is in this direction. There's white lines basically showing that we haven't formalized those borders yet. The big white line is our zone. We can expand that by just pushing out with a unit and push that out, but then it can be pushed back by enemy forces. And basically until we normalize relations with them, the border is fluid, which creates an opportunity, creates a little danger, depends on what you want to do. So we could push into their territory a little bit before we do that. They might not like it, or we might run into their units, but that might be worthwhile to give us a little breathing room around our starting city here. We can see this one is Ratanus, which we haven't heard from them. We don't see any infrastructure or anything in that direction. There's a road going this way, which we kind of like. If you have a road near you, that's some good territory to capture because that's going to make your expansion easier. Logistics is a whole big part of this game, and so having a road is very useful, especially one that goes through these high mountains. Building that road through those mountains is really expensive, so we might want to control this mountain ridge here as just a defensive posture. Maybe we want to push in a little bit more. We'll see here in a minute. And then in this direction, it's non-aligned forces. So that's kind of the Wild West. That's, think Mad Max. That's just people out there after civilization collapsed. People are still alive and out there. And now they're non-aligned. And so basically, you're probably going to end up fighting them, pushing into their territory and making it yours. But they're not like a nation, so you don't have diplomacy with them. It's just random people. So we can see there's some kind of unit here. You'll probably have something nearby pretty soon. So let's talk about, before we go pick a fight with them, let's see if we can push up here and see how far we get before we normalize relations and borders with them. We can cycle through our units. We can see some can move further than others. The ones that are motorized, of course, can move further than the ones that aren't. If we select this tab, and you cycle through, you can see the details down here of exactly what types of units are in. It's called models, is like the unit type, like infantry versus machine gunners, different models. We'll talk extensively about that later. But you can see the mix of forces within each one of these. So like this one is kind of like a mobile infantry unit. Got some militia riflemen, it's got some bikers, it's got some trucks, and it's got some artillery. It can move because it has those trucks to haul all those guys, versus if we look at, and this one's kind of the same way, it's got trucks, but this artillery unit doesn't have any trucks. So you can see it can only move one hex because it has no trucks, so it's much less mobile. It's kind of a more static artillery. And then this is kind of our scouts. It's buggies and irregular tanks. So depending on how you start, you'll usually have some kind of pretty similar mix of forces. Like if we want to move these guys out, we'll just right click. We'll see how far they go. So we see, yeah, we're pushing up there. No enemy units in sight just yet. We've got to this town, which is a decent sized little village. We might want to, yeah, 44,000 free folk. So those free folk in the town, just because they're in your border, they don't necessarily join you immediately. It's basically a source of population. So get them in your zone of influence within your borders, and then make your city be a nice place to move to, and they'll come join your kind of empire proper. But we need to get to them so they can join us. So we'll just kind of keep cruising up the road here a little bit. There's another one. It also has a source of water. That's nice. And then as you kind of get these things in your zone or your territory, you'll see on the assets tab, stuff will start adding to it. So that's where we get that town of Trelli is there. This clean source of water is there. So it's generating 50 water for us. So that's pretty handy, just for you off the bat. We'll just keep cruising up the road here since we haven't run into anyone yet. Got hot baths and a geyser turbine. Yeah, we'll go ahead and take that. So yeah, hot baths gives us some population happiness. We like that. And then good. Then let's see one of our other mobile units. See if I can send it over. It can't quite get there since it's going, so you can see it going off the road. Don't make it quite as far. So it'd be good to get there. And then they're in the non-aligned territory. So, all right. So maybe after having pushed up the road and stolen a bunch of their stuff, we'll say, sure, we'll normalize relations with you and respect your borders. Yes, after we've done that. That makes them happy, makes everybody happy. But now we have to respect their borders. So now we look and see, okay, we have an orange line in this direction because that is Duboisica. Sure, that's Duboisica territory in that direction. And then we see these little lines showing where their border ends in that direction. So we won't push any further that way, but we could still push this way because this is Rattanis territory and we haven't met them yet or talked to them. So we don't respect their borders yet. So we could still push that way if we want to. And this town is in the non-aligned territory, so we can snag it too. So just kind of think about that before you accept something like that, normalizing the border. Because if we try to push across it now, we would be declaring war. Right, now back down here, we still have these non-aligned guys close to our main city. We don't like that. We could move some forces down to fight with them. We still have kind of our biggest unit available, plus artillery and some more infantry. So we'll go ahead and move them down. And then we can get a little bonus for flanking if we attack from multiple angles. Bring the artillery up as well. All right, and so we can see, so this says it's 100 rifle militia. That's probably not accurate. We have, your reconnaissance is not perfect. So recon is part of the game. Different units are better at recon than others. Or just moving units, having them close to an enemy unit, you're going to get more information over time. And so basically don't assume that this is accurate the first time you encounter a unit and see it over there. Right now, if we wanted to attack them, we could left click unit, see the red arrow telling us that we can attack. We can right click on it. And then this is the attack screen, like setting up your attack. There's a lot going on here. Basically here in the middle, the hex that's being attacked is in the middle. And you can see units that are eligible to join, the ones that are currently attacking. And then we can just click these guys to add them. And then you see here all these different modifiers that are affecting the combat. Could be leaders, terrain, experience, all kinds of stuff. And then defensive modifiers over here. Then just kind of the numbers of units involved and what we think the enemy forces are. Again, not always accurate. And then it gives you an overall odds that we think we have for this attack. 1-to-1. It's not great for attacking. We'll probably get a draw out of that. Probably not worth it. So we'll cancel it for now because we moved those units and now we're trying to attack. If we wait a turn and attack before moving, they'll be in better shape. And our artillery will be able to help too. So we'll do that. But before we end the turn, let's look at starting construction on a building. So early economy is a little tricky. There's a lot of resources over here you're worried about. You want everything, but some things have to come first and take precedent. And if we just to construct something, just for example, you can select a hex where you want to do the construction, and then you come over here and click construct. You'll get this menu where you can see, even here right at the beginning of the game, we have all kinds of stuff we could build. You can hover over it to see what things do. Some are obvious, some less so. You can see the logistics tab has, there's railroads, railheads, supply bases, truck stations, all kinds of stuff. And that's just to start. There is agriculture to get us food. And there is mining to get us all kinds of resources. Energy for energy. And then industry, which is a very important one. We'll come back to that in a second. And then government, which is going to do things like produce more production of like political points and stuff, or reduce radiation. So some important stuff there, but things we're not necessarily worried about here right off the bat. You can see we can't build these because they can only be built in a city hex. The mining, we can build some here, but not others because they need to be in a hex with a deposit of that resource, which we'll see here in a minute how to find more of those. But you can see you have water here, metal here. So if we choose this metal one, hit construct, we can see that we can build a metal mine there that's going to produce metal for us. Now, the tricky thing at the beginning of the game is that if you choose to build the wrong stuff right off the bat, you can kind of strangle your economy and end up with not anything getting done for a long time. And the main thing to look at is for all of these, the cost is over here, and then what they produce is over here, and their ongoing cost. So if we look, the common theme for building all of these things is that we need workers, which we have. We don't worry about that too much right at the beginning. We need metal, we need industrial points, and we need machines. If we look over here, we can see that we don't have any machines, and we're not making any machines. So we'll have to see how we get more of those. We have some metal, we're making a little metal. And then we have some industrial points, and we're making a little industrial points. Now, we can immediately boost how much metal we're making, or industrial points, by making the, if we make the metal mine, we can get some metal going. If we make the, come here to industry, build industry, it has to be in the city, we can get those industrial points going. The trick is to notice that the cost of building these things and which one you should build first to avoid kind of strangling yourself. And that is, if you look here, the cost for this industry is a lot. It's 500 metal, but it's for 3 rounds. So if you notice this little rounds here, you need basically 3 times what each of these things says to fully build it. And it's going to take at least 3 turns, assuming you have all these resources available, which you probably won't here at the beginning. So 1500 metal to get it built, versus if we look at the metal mine, it is only going to cost us no metal, and 125 industrial points for 2 rounds and only 2 machines. So it's much easier to get the metal mining facility built first, which is then going to make you 250 metal per turn, versus if you try to build the industry first, you're going to run out of metal, and we're making what, 46 per turn. So if we need 1500, we're making 46 per turn. It's going to take a long time to get that built. So the very important thing, build the metal mine first, then build the industry. But you need the industry because it makes 50 points per turn, and we need it for everything else. Pretty much everything is going to need some built. But if we get 50 per turn, that's enough to get us going with all this other stuff. If we're getting 250 metal per turn, that's enough. All these other things are way cheaper on metal. The industry is like, industry 1 is both one of the most important things you need to build early on and one of the most expensive things you can build early on. But you want to make sure we'll build this metal mine first. So we'll come over here. It won't let you build it unless you have the right hex selected, but we'll hit start construction. And now we're building, you see that orange triangle there, we're building a metal mine there. Now, if you were paying attention, you might remember, oh, we needed how much for that? 2 machines. Actually, if we come here, now we'll see it here. You can hover over it, and it'll show you how much resources have been paid in over time. But we needed 2 machines total to get that built, and we don't have any, and we're not making any. So how do we get some more? Now, this is one of those things that's definitely not obvious if you just fire up the game, like, how do I do that? You need to come up here to workshop. And so there's 2 things you can make, sort of like artisanal, I guess, that you can just put resources into until you get your economy up and running and can produce this more easily. You come here to kind of manually have your people make this stuff. So you can have ammunition, which we don't need right now, or we can make machines, artisanal production of machines. People putting machines together in their home, I guess. It costs 20 metal, 20 rare metal, and 20 industrial points for each one. We need 2, and we only have enough to make 1 this turn because we only have 22 rare metals. So we'll do that.
Yes, sir.
And we can see that that immediately is produced. We get the 1 machine, and now we're making 11 rare metals per turn. And so it'll be a few turns to make enough of that to make the other machine to finish the construction. So it's not something. The early economy is tricky because you're really short on resources and sources of resources. If we see down here, where's, just for example, where are those 11 rare metals coming from? They're down here. This is coming from our private economy. So there's a public economy. That's the stuff that you build as the government. And then there's a private economy. That's your people, stuff that they build. As the game goes on, you'll see down here. So these are kind of like silver. That's your stuff that you've built. The bronze is the private economy. And then the yellow is like the natural stuff that you find out in the world. And so we can see we have a kind of a trickle of various things coming in here. You'll notice industrial points isn't there. It's kind of a little nebulous. It's like part of like your tax every turn. Eventually, the private economy will probably build some industry itself, but it's not nearly as much as you can build with the dedicated industry building that you can build. So you'll want to build it no matter what to get that going and boost that up a bit. All right, and then just for an example, the other thing that we could do on the first turn is play one of our stratagem cards. You don't necessarily have to do this. It's going to depend on what you have, what your situation is. This is the most like it depends thing that you can do when you want to play these, how you want to use them. You'll usually start with a selection like this where you can increase, decrease taxes. You can recruit a new leader. So we'll talk about the leaders later, but it'd be like a junior leader who is inexperienced, but you can build them up over time, but they're going to be low in seniority. So you can't like recruit someone and stick them into an important job because they're not going to be good at it. Other people are going to get mad about it. So, but you can get more leaders there if you need them. There's usually something related to one of your, there's usually a cult if you have that option turned on, and then you can discuss policy regarding them. We'll leave that alone for now. There'll be some good fate cards and some, at least one bad one that gives you more fate points, but something bad happens usually. And then we see majors and minors. So we haven't encountered any majors yet, but they're kind of like the fully fledged other civilizations that you can interact with. And then there's minors, which you'll probably usually have a couple minors near you, maybe a major, maybe not. Then we have this covert ops, so we can send a spy. So I think that's what we'll do here. So if we switched, so we can, when we pick a card, you can hover over it to get the details on what it does. Send spy does kind of what you would imagine. So you can go out, get some reconnaissance, try to infiltrate a neighboring regime. Over here is going to be, well, let's pick the target. So most of them, or some of them, it depends. Some need a target. So we can click, and sometimes you can target a zone or a hex or other regimes. But we'll come up to this so we can pick who we're targeting. So we don't want to target the non-aligned. We haven't run into Ratanus yet, but we have run into Duboisica. I don't know, I can't say it. Duboisica. We'll select them as our target. And now we see this changes over here to show it's going to be executed by our leader. It's going to have a difficulty of 31, and then the roll is a covert ops skill roll, 1d100 plus 14, and we need to roll at least a 31. So plus 14 feels like pretty good chance of that succeeding. You hover over it, you can see possibly get a critical success, critical failure, and what will happen based on that, or just regular success or failure. So we'll go ahead and do it. We'll hit execute.
Yes,
so we rolled 61, so that's good. So we infiltrated our spies into that region. Now it doesn't immediately do anything. We look at the strategic map, nothing changed right away, but now we do have a spy there, so we'll get some more information about them over time, hopefully. But that's how you play a stratagem card, and you can play more than one. They'll have cost usually, so you can see on there, I didn't check on the covert ops one, but little fist is going to be your political points, the little star is your fate points, and that's the cost of playing it. So like recruiting a leader costs 7, we have 11 right now, so as you go, that's just kind of your limiter on how many of those you can play at a time, along with other things. So that's the first turn. We did all kinds of stuff. And depending on your situation, you might have done very different things, but that's my first turn for this game. So let's go ahead and just hit next turns. I don't think there's much else we could do right at the moment. Well, there's more stuff we could do, of course, but we could try to raise a new unit, but I'm gonna save that for the next video, probably. Let's see what happened out there. So we killed 500 infantry. We have 3 decisions. And so sometimes, so we have the Zeitgeist thing again. We're on turn 2 of 24 of the Time of Relative Calm. But it's giving us extra political bonus points, so that's good. So we found, sometimes your guys will find stuff depending on the territory that you capture. So they found a sealed silo intact with Galactic Republic. So if you see GR, that's Galactic Republic. That's basically the High Republic of the humanity. So high-tech good stuff. If you find anything. So we got 10 Galactic Republic Velociraptors. So that's like a free advanced unit. So that's good. And it's telling us how many hexes we control. We get some more tips there. We're out of machines, which we knew that. We couldn't make any more just yet, because we'll have to wait till we have 20 before we can make another one. That's basically going to hold up our construction there. So we can look around, quite a few things to see. So there's some combat here. We killed some of the, they attacked us. We won, or at least held the ground there. There's a way to get the detailed report. I'm trying to remember where it was. Don't worry about that right now, but there is a way to see like the detailed report of the fighting that happened. But suffice to say, our guys are still in position, and we killed 500 of the enemy forces, so they are ripe for us to fight and defeat them. Before we do that, though, we'll just poke around and see. Oh, look, so we had that spy, and so now we learned quite a bit more about their territory, what it looks like, where their capital is up there, right up the road. So the road goes all the way to them, and that there are some, nothing else too interesting out there, another little town, and then towards to the edge of the map there. So seeing that spy got us some information, and then also we can see over there too. If we look at the strategic map, you can see that yeah, they control all this territory going in that direction, going back that way. That's good, gives us some information on them. We can see Ratanus, a unit of theirs, moved up here and didn't quite move into where we were, but let's go ahead and grab. Now, yeah, like I was saying, now that we've normalized relations here, we can see these turn red. If you move into there, it's declaring war. So we don't want to do that. We want to be nice to them now that we've stolen a bunch of stuff from them at the beginning. But we can still steal things from Ratanus. So we'll move up here and take that, which adds the hot baths, another thing to make our people happy. So that's good. And then we can see they've got a unit there. They have biped cavalry riding on dinosaurs. Pretty cool. You never know what you're gonna run into. We don't necessarily want to fight them. We don't have, so we haven't made any kind of relations with them yet. So we could attack them, but I don't really want to just yet. And then got this unit, which we found. It's called, kind of funny, they're riding some kind of dinosaur. This is called a Velociraptor, but actually it's a really cool tank. Medium tank, has lasers, pretty handy. We could use that to, yeah, definitely beat them pretty easily. So usually if you'll come across at least one or two kind of freebie powerful units like that to boost your early military, but be careful with them, don't lose them, because they're very precious. And then down here at our construction, we switch back to the assets tab. We can see now it says 1.4 turns left. If we hover over it, it shows us how many of the resources we've delivered. So 1 of 2 machines, 700 of 2,000 workers, 79 of 250 industrial points. So that'll just kind of happen automatically over time. But the thing to know is if they gradually we'll get those industrial points, and the industrial points, yeah, it's kind of nebulous. Like now it says negative 79, we have 0. You'll get a trickle here early on. But that's why we want to get that actual building up and running as soon as we can, so that we have a steady source of income on that. And then we can see, where else was I going with this? Oh yeah, machines. We don't have any machines right now, so we need to make one more. It'll never finish until we make that other machine. And so we can't though just yet, because we don't have enough rare metals. We have to wait a turn to get to 20 rare metals so that we can then make that other machine. So that's just important to know. Start constructing something and you're not getting the resources, it's just never going to finish. It's just going to sit there and be almost done forever. So that's where you don't want to run into as much as possible. Now let's go ahead and get into some combat. So good. Yeah, this tank is good enough. It could roll all the way over here, so why not? And then we will right click, and now we can see, okay, we can add those troops and add that artillery. So the tank rolled over there, but I guess they don't have enough action points left to join. That's okay. With these guys in position, not moving to, but they're already in position, we can attack. That's kind of interesting. We add the artillery and our odds go down to 3.6 instead of 6. Because I guess we're getting some negative modifiers. Okay, so max attacked. You're committing too much firepower on too small a quantity of targets. Kind of interesting, kind of stops you from doing certain tactics, I guess. So actually we'll leave the artillery out of it and just attack with our infantry. We could choose different varieties here just to see what the odds change. That's our best, is with just attacking with our infantry units, one flanking and one, or from 2 different hexes. And that gives us 6-1, which is really good. So we'll go ahead and attack.
Move out.
Now we'll get this detailed battle screen. So the battle happens over multiple rounds,
Mission accomplished.
not all at once, and then you can see which units are doing what. So the little blue arrow means they're retreating, the red skull means they died. Fortunately there we didn't lose any units. We had a couple retreat, took some hits, but none were destroyed. And we destroyed 2 of theirs and sent the other ones running. And now we know, we have a better idea of exactly how many units are in that force, and we push them off of this little town. And then we can see, oh, all right, so yellow bird beak. So this world we're finding does have some alien life already here. So you may or may not run into stuff like that. And so that's just animals on the planet that might be hostile, that might be really dangerous. I don't know, it just depends on what you run into. So I'm not going to pick a fight with them though, but I might try to finish these guys off if we...
Move out. Mission accomplished.
Alright, so we still didn't quite finish them off, but we did destroy a few more of them just to get them out of our way. We can see that our little bar here is turning yellow, so basically our readiness is going down because we attacked and then moved and then attacked again. So we don't want to overdo it, but we're not up against anything too dangerous at the moment. Assuming these guys aren't some kind of extremely dangerous going to come, because they're herbivores, so surely they're not going to attack us. Yeah, more on alien life later. So we've done all that, and we can see, oh, there's another little... Might try to go get it later. But, yeah, let's go ahead and just try to get that building finished. Good. Oh, well, let's actually, yeah, let's do some more stuff for this turn. Yeah, so we have at least one more round of important things to talk about for this turn before we're done with the video. Yeah, so I've tried to make this first video like 5 different times because it is so hard to stay on task when there's so many things that pop up from turn to turn. And every time I make the video, it's different. So yeah, you're actually seeing like my 3rd or 4th attempt at this. So we'll try, let's get back on track. I'm going to try to limit the scope of this first video. So for the rest of this turn, let's look at the budget allocation and economic council, because that's some important stuff too. So our budget allocation, this will pop up from time every year. You can set where you want your budget to go. And so at the beginning, we have the Supreme Command Council, kind of the overall thing. And then we have our economic council that we chose to build. So this is going to depend on which of these councils you've established, and then how you want your budget to be allocated. You can do whatever. I'm just gonna leave it on the default for now, and then as we get more councils, then you kind of pick and choose a little bit more. But we'll just confirm. I do wish it would show you on this screen like what these do exactly. You have to kind of look in the manual, but we'll focus in on the economic councils. Okay there. Now, since we picked to make the economic council on the last turn, it's established, but it needs a leader. And at the beginning of the game, basically you only have like 1 extra leader in your portfolio. And we can see his suitability is 0 for this, so he's actually not the best to pick for this, but he's the only guy we got. We can click on him and see his stats and stuff, but basically his suitability for this role is 0, so not great, but we'll put him in there. We could recruit another leader and see if he would be better, but then he would be lower seniority, so this guy might not like it. We won't get into the depths of it on that. We'll just appoint him.
Wilco.
And we can see, all right, so I'm honored you're trusted with me this, so it's important as far as like trust and relationships, who you appoint to these things, because his relation went up plus 42, so he's very happy with that. And then other leaders were happy because seniority was correct on that. Now, yeah, so he was yellow, he was whatever he was, but not super high. Now he's maxed out, so we've put him in a place of importance and he's happy with us. And then for your economic council, if you did choose to do it first, this is how you want to allocate its budget. So like within that other budget, the bigger, wider budget we already set, now we're allocating in this individual council, and then each council have options like this. I again wish it would like tell you on this screen like what these things do. It would be very helpful. But if you look in the manual, you'll get a detailed description of each thing. So the economic council is nice because it does a lot of stuff. So discovery is going to be coming up with ideas for new technologies. So research is kind of a two-step process. You have to have the idea for something, and then you have to actually research it. So discovery is coming up with ideas, and then as you have ideas, you can pick which one you want to actually research. And then the speed that happens at is kind of just gradually overturns as far as coming up with ideas. Basically, the more you put in, the more likely you are to get one. And then research is going to go faster the more you put in. Makes sense. Right now, we don't have anything to research, so we might make it a little lower. Since we don't have anything to do yet, we need to come up with some ideas. And then you click over here to like lock that in. If you want to mess with the other ones, and you know where you want to set that. If we come down here, prospecting. So this is finding more resource deposits within our territory. So the higher we set this, the more likely it is we'll find like another metal mine, another metal deposit. We might find a rare metals deposit. That would be handy. We could build a mine on it to get more than 10, 11 per turn. And then down here, economic policies. This is going to give us more stratagems related to the economy. So just establishing the council means we're more likely to get economic stratagem cards to play, and then the higher we put this, the more we'll get. So we'll just kind of split it evenly the other way and a little less on research since we don't have anything to research just yet. And then you'll get chances to adjust this later, and you can call him up, talk to him about it.
Wilco.
Okay, so we've made those decisions. Now, I don't think there's anything else we need to do this turn. Could raise the unit. I'm going to save that for the future video of like getting into developing new military units and raising new forces, because you start with your militia forces. They're okay for the first few turns, moving around, exploring, fighting, kind of random stuff. And then next video, we'll get into establishing our proper military. But let's just go to the next turn. Just for fun, we'll see what happens. But I'll try to wrap this video up pretty soon because I don't want it to drag out too long. Alright, so we got some more stratagems. It's always interesting to see because there's all kinds of stuff. So propose peace, like if we were at war, we could propose peace. We got another spy we could send out. We could recruit a mercenary, who's someone who'd be a leader good at leading our military forces. Might be useful. Then do an archaeology effort. That'd be good. More stuff, all kinds of things. You can see another Retinus. We haven't talked to them yet, but they have a unit parked right next to us. Don't like that. More dinosaur guys. So we might, let's see, open contact for a major. I don't know if we can use that. Yeah, so they're not a major, so we can't use that. We can't propose peace necessarily because we're not at war. Could send a spy though. Send a spy into their territory. A little bit hard to roll this time, but that's okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, roll 77. Very good. Now we have spies in their territory too, so we can get some more information on what they're up to. Notice that city went away up there, but we knew that's where it was. Now, right now. And then down here, put our artillery back base. And maybe infantry down to that town just to secure it. Now we see, yeah, our assets tab. We've got so many that now we have to go down to the second tab You can also select these things to kind of specify what you want to see, public, private assets, things like that. And then another pristine view, so another, produces 1 population loyalty at the start of the turn. So that's nice. Boosting loyalty, making people happy. And then we'll talk about supply in a future video as well. You don't want to send your guys too far out, and definitely not over difficult terrain, because eventually they'll be too far away to get supply if they get too far out there. They have a little green dot right there right now, so that means we're good for now. But these guys, they might be too far now, but we'll cover that in detail later. Just kind of intuitively going along the roads, good. Going over high mountains, bad for supply. So be cautious about that. And then we can see those guys are still right there. I kind of want to finish them off just to not have to worry about them anymore.
Mission accomplished.
All right, so they surrendered. So yeah, we finally fully defeated those guys. Don't have to worry about them anymore. And I don't really want to. I don't want to kill the poor yellow beaks. What were they? Yellow bird beaks. Wish they would just wander off so that I could. There's a town there. I would like to get it, but oh well. Don't worry about that. And then yeah, Vertanis making me a little nervous. They got units on our border. They don't want to start a fight with them, but we don't have the stratagems yet to normalize relations. So they could push into our territory, so we have to kind of maintain a line so that they don't. So it's kind of an interesting system of there's sort of like unknown, like we're not at war, we could fight, maybe we don't want to, but if they push into our territory, they're kind of taking our territory, so we need to push them back out of it too. Then checking on our construction, we can see we're still at 1.4 turns. We need machines and we need industrial points. We don't have any industrial points coming in this turn, so we can't. We do have the rare metals now enough, but we can't make another machine because we need 20 points, and either we don't have them or they've already gone to this. Like I said, it's a little fuzzy where those come from right here at the beginning because you can't see it exactly. It seems like some turns you get them and some turns you don't. But anyway, over time you will get enough points to get that established. So that's the important thing, is getting that first metal mine up so that you can then build your first industry. So then you have a steady supply of those resources. Then from there, you can build basically everything else out over time once you've got those secure. So I'm trying to think of anything else to cover in this first video. I don't want it to go on too long. I mean, there's plenty to cover later. So I think I'll stop here. We've covered how to start a new game, how to generate your empire, how to move your units around, just basic movements. Got into some basic combat. We found a variety of different territory to capture, and we can see how you come down here to the assets tab and see what those things do. We've started building our first building, and we've seen how the early economy is tricky, and how until we get those resources flowing, we have to be kind of careful about what we build for sure. The private economy hasn't built anything yet, but you'll notice as you play the first few turns, probably at least something will pop up here, another bronze building, and that will be another your private economy building something. You don't control that, but it helps you because it gives you a little bit more resources. And then we'll talk more in depth in the next video. We will keep going with this game, since I think this is a cool startup. We've got these neighbors that are riding on dinosaurs, and in a relatively good spot to start in here, I think. And we'll see how the relationship develops here. Oh yeah, we played some stratagem cards, we spied on our neighbors, and then we'll see how our relationship plays out with our other neighbor, and try to get those buildings up and running, and then we'll raise a proper military unit and see how that works, and then maybe we'll get some research going to in the next video. There's so many things, there's so much stuff. That's what makes the game fun, but also makes it kind of hard to learn, because there's just a million different things that can happen and to think about and to choose between. So I hope you hit subscribe if you found this video useful and you want to see some more, and stick around, and more videos will be coming, and we'll just keep playing this game, because that's why I call it Let's Learn, because I think the best way to learn this game is just to play it and then kind of learn about the different systems as we go, with a good handle on the basics to start. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.